Hello students, now we'll look on next concept of classes and object. Here we'll start with the static members which are similar to our C++ or Java static members. It is a property or method that all instances of a class commonly share. Usually the individual property of a object is different, right? So for every object one instance of that particular property is created, but it is not the case with the static members. All the objects are sharing a common property common member, that may be a data member or a member function. So if it's a data member we call as a static member, and if it is a function we call it as a static member function, and they are accessed with the self syntax, that is using the double colon syntax is used. This is how we do it, right? Rather than using the class object name, class name, and this operator is used, and the variable which is static. So this also is again a same syntax as that of our C or Java syntax, right? So this is an example which is showing the static members. You can just observe here. This one is accessing the $artist count plus plus, so it is a defined within a class, right? In the class definition only it is defined, and this is how we are accessing it within the function where it is incremented, and any other function of that class can make use of the same member. If it is incrementing this, the one which is updated by the previous function will be obtained by that particular object. It is not created as a separate instance for each object. Yeah, this also can be included in UML class diagram. Again, this is the way we can mention here artist count or else $art count. This is self is indicated here, which are referring all together to this class diagram. Class constants can be created. These values can be stored more efficiently as class constants so long as they are not calculated or updated. They are added to a class using the constant keyword. So these are the class constants. That is the difference. Again, it is accessed with the self or class reference and the name of the constant. Here one thing you can observe, by the program convenes that it is following all the letters should be in uppercase only. So we have used the same concept in case of normal constants also, that is applicable for the class constants also, which are never changing. So we'll go for object oriented design. You know about data encapsulation. It is one of the important feature of object orientation, where it is restricting access to an object's internal components, right? Properly encapsulated class will define an interface to the world in the form of its public methods and leaves its data, that its properties, hidden, that is private. Hiding the details of implementation details are hidden here. That's why we call it as a data encapsulation. Property encapsulated class makes its property private. Then you can access by using getters and the setters, right? So this is how you can use get first name and return $this arrow first name, right? So it is a returning a variable's value. Usually we do with all the classes. Usually you can set the values by using the set functions, right? You can mention any name, you can just assign the value to this and then access them, like C++ or Java. Yeah, this is how you can add the all the functions into the UML class diagrams like this. So using an encapsulated class here, it's a complete example you can observe, right? So artist.class PHP is included here. We'll see the details of that. You can just access them here. Get last name, get b date, get death date, which have been placed in the echo statements. Similarly here also. Inheritance is enabling you to create new PHP classes that are making use of reusability or extending or modifying the already existing behavior of already defined PHP class. PHP allows you to inherit from one class at a time here. So it is said to be you will be having a derived class or a subclass. The class that is being inherited is a superclass. So remember, you don't have multiple types of inheritance. You have it allows only to inherit from one class at a time. So it is making use of our Java syntax, like extends is used. Class painting extends art. Painting is a subclass, whereas a superclass for this is or a base class for this is art. So referencing the base class, so this is how you can show it by UML diagram. Painting is a subclass of art, or else in simple form you can show only the class names like this also. How to use it is $p equal to new painting, $p arrow get name is defined in base class, get medium is defined in subclass. So this is protected access modifier. So you know the details of protected. It is accessible by derived classes, but not by other classes and not by subsequently derived classes. So here you can observe init is a private member, but it is accessible, not accessible. Private members are not accessible, whereas hash is indicating a protected class. Here they are accessible within the subsequently derived class, that is by the painting class. Get original, you can observe it is accessible here because it is a protected member, but it is not able to access the init because it is a private member. So this is one complex. These two are the subclasses. Yes. So here in order to represent this multiple inheritance concept, similar to Java, we have to make use of interfaces here that we'll see soon. Before that, we'll have an example on abstract class, which is just showing the storing the declarations, and they are so this is showing the multi-level inheritance. Extended examples are shown here, how to define the functions and how to make use of previous classes. This is another example. Polymorphism is also supported here. Is the notion that an object can in fact be multiple things at the same time. That is, here there is one variable created. The variable is both a painting object and an art object due to its inheritance. That is, it is a overridden method here, right? This is how it works. Overriding, function overriding is shown here through the polymorphism concept. Interfaces is a way of defining of multiple inheritance. It is shown here, you can just observe. So this is how we can define using interface keyword. It looks similar to standard PHP classes, except an interface do not contain properties, but it only contains the methods to be defined later. So this must have a extended class wherein we are able to see the implementation of these functions. So this is the example. In interface we have two functions. These are defined inside the subclass art, which are having the definition of these two functions. So this is how we can show it using the UML diagram. This is where we can see the definition of these two methods. So this is what we have learned throughout. Thank you.